straight to the point. The title of the video is How is International Halo doing? And truth be told, it's not very good right now. But we can expand on that. So first of all, what makes it not so good? Well, let's look at Europe for a little bit. Europe is the second biggest region in Halo, right? Right behind North America, obviously. And since the release of Halo Infinite, we've had one LAN tournament, and that was in Spain, Valencia. Don't get me wrong, it was a great event. It was a lot of fun, it was in a cool location. But Spain isn't exactly like known as like the Halo hub of Europe or anything. So like altogether, I think there was like 3 Spanish players that ended up showing up, and they all played on different teams. To kind of make matters worse, like I spoke to a lot of like, other players from different parts of Europe, Scandinavia, Germany, and they all kind of mutually agreed that it was quite a difficult location to kind of get to. It was quite expensive. It was a very, but I understand why HCS did it. Don't get me wrong, they hosted it because it was in Spain because of DreamHack, but still, it's not exactly a good look when the host country only has about 3 players showing up. Now, secondly, this is a bit of a strange one. I've always wondered why they don't do this, but there's no qualifier coverage for international teams, so the community kind of has to do it themselves, which, don't get me wrong, some people kind of thrive off it, it allows certain channels to grow, but it doesn't really draw the public. It doesn't have the HCS name, it doesn't have that big draw, and it's a big shame because some of these teams qualify have like the craziest storylines, and no one seems to know about it. Now, I could ramble on for a while on why International Halo isn't doing too great, but I'm just going to kind of say this last point as it's kind of been bothering me for a while. I understand why HCS don't really do this because you could argue international teams don't really deserve it, but I went to Dallas and Arlington as the coach for an ANZ team, Bittersweet, and I spoke to a lot of the LATAM players, and one big shame is they don't really get any media or sort of interviews thrown at them, which is so sad because I think some of these players are both the nicest players and some of the funniest players in the Halo community. And I think, it's a big shame to miss out on an opportunity to let these, personalities shine through. I think allowing those kind of like little media spots for these, international teams would build them a fan base, and as a result, the region will actually start to grow because you can actually kind of relate to the players a lot more. But once again, I can understand why they want to keep their focus on the optics, phase, and SSG as they definitely bring in more views. But I just think in the long run, like allowing these international teams to kind of like show their personality and let people be fans of them kind of is a bit of a better investment. Once again, I could be wrong, let me know. So what's the point of keeping us, right? You could easily axe the other regions and just keep North American Halo and just have that be like the primary focus and all this kind of stuff. Well, the obvious answer is to keep a larger population, right? Europe's a big region, so is LATAM, and so is Australia and New Zealand. But, the main thing is, Halo's like a global phenomenon. Let's keep it a global phenomenon. Let's not keep it to, a North American scene. And as a result, it deserves international representation in the competitive scene, right? So if we include the European scene, or LATAM and ANZ, HCS demonstrates that it's actually committed to being a truly global kind of esport event rather than just a generic North American kind of esport. And I feel like you're limiting the potential that Halo has if you just axe every other region. Secondly, come on, International Halo is literally at its best right now. Quadrant placing top 3, International Halo players like Barcode and Tapping getting a top 4 placement. And if we keep going down this path of not hosting LANs in international waters and all this kind of stuff, I feel like Halo will only start to decline, especially in those regions. Like, HCS kind of needs to give something to the AM scene to allow new talent to compete for something and continue to improve, because I just feel like these online tournaments aren't enough, especially with the state that Halo Infinite is in right now. The online's kind of difficult to play in compared to most other Halos. And it's a real shame because I feel like once a lot of these top talents and all this kind of stuff start to retire or they get older, North America, it will kind of go back to the North America being on top and Europe and, all these other players kind of slowly dropping down because there's not much for these players to kind of really like strive for, International Halo has always had like an interesting legacy, within Halo. Don't get me wrong, not many people know about it, and I think that's something that I really want to focus on in the future of this channel. But building an esports scene right now kind of needs global representation. I mean, look at Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Overwatch. Like these games wouldn't be as big as it is without these huge scenes in multiple regions, right? You look at League of Legends in Korea or in Asia in general, or even globally. Like League of Legends globally has always been very fascinating to watch. Same with Counter-Strike. It's big in North America, Europe, Australia. It's big everywhere. Like, I don't think right now, if you can only focus on one region, an esport is really gonna struggle. So as a result, we need to strive for a bigger fan base in each region. I think that's kind of the goal, right? Let's take a second here, okay? Let's all get in our time machines. Let's go back to when Halo Infinite first came out, and let's go back to specifically the first HCS online tournament, right? EU, you know, had 128 teams, and that was like the cap. So there probably could have been more teams that signed up, but people couldn't. I think I remember people saying, you know, people ended up just trying to join teams that have already signed up. And then, you know, let's look at the ANZ scene. I think it had about 50. And don't get me wrong, I'm realistic. I understand we were never going to keep that population, but it kind of shows, you know, what could have been. You know, we didn't need to keep all of it, but even if we kept half or a little bit more than half of that population, these competitor scenes would have been, you know, big. And those players that stayed behind, they will be long-term players. And then it's a big shame that we kind of, you know, blew it at the start with, you know, like I'm going to focus on Europe here, but hosting a LAN in Spain. Like, you know, I'm making it kind of difficult for players to travel to and all this kind of stuff. I feel like we really could have done a lot better at the start. And as a result, you know, hung in there even up to now. So, next question. How do we fix this? I have no idea. But, in my opinion, we need to start at the beginning. Let's start looking at these grassroots tournaments, and I know Europa Halo and Troy with the boys at Project Stadium have been doing some fantastic work, giving the EU scenes and competitions during the downtime of you know, HCS. Over in Australia, you got Macapsu and Lunchy. Sadly, Lunchy isn't doing his thing anymore, but they've been throwing in, you know, their own tournaments here and there. And I know it seems like this is a bit of a curveball, but you know, in Asia, Shiran and the boys at Remind Halo have been throwing their own tournaments. Now, Halo in Asia is like a topic for another video. But I just swear HCS are so bad at helping these grassroots tournaments out. And I feel like that's the kind of the goal to what we need to focus on. And I don't mean just throw money at it, alright? But like, I understand HCS is, you know, like money's a thing, and you know, we can't just throw money at something we want to succeed. But I feel like, you know, there's ways around it. Something as simple as, you know, retweeting competition, giving live updates to these competitions, or, you know, allowing these grassroots tournaments to, you know, host a tournament on the HCS Twitch stream, you know, kind of give it more, you know, authenticity, is that the right word? Yeah, let's go with that. And, you know, help them out, like, you know, maybe throw a little bit of money at it, you know, raising prize pools by £100, £200, or even, you know, something as simple as giving the winning team headsets. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but for these grassroots comps, it really helps out with any level of exposure and really makes it worth their time, which kind of allows them to find their own sponsors and all this kind of stuff, thus building the scene in these regions. Now, after all of that, we can kind of start focusing on bigger pictures like LAN events for these regions. Now, I understand, you know, 2 LATAM, 3 ANZ, and 4 EU teams flying over to America is great, and, you know, it's good content and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of these players that I spoke to, if not all the players I spoke to, have kind of all agreed that they would give that up to have a LAN in their own region. And I know, relax, I know hosting a LAN costs a lot more than flying nine international teams over to, you know, North America. But I can't help but feel like, you know, competitive Halo is drowning outside of North America, and in the long run, we're going to slowly fizzle out, and the quality of Halo is really going to start to decline. So I do hope that we start seeing more LANs in these other regions. I think it'll just be a lot more fun. I think the players will be a lot more happy. The scene will be a lot more happy. And I think you'll be surprised on how many players actually come back to, you know, start competing for these, you know, local tournaments. So lastly, let me know if I'm wrong. Like, this video is completely my opinion, and I understand I'm being ambitious by saying certain things. I get it. But I just kind of wanted to voice my opinion, and, you know, let me know what you guys think. You guys might think, fuck it, you know, International Halo is thriving, it's better than ever, and all this kind of stuff. But I just feel like it's a shame not having certain new players that come into Halo Infinite after the first year and not experience a LAN, and even these scenes in these regions, you know, it seems like they're slowly, you know, the population is slowly declining because of the fact that outside of, you know, top 3 or top 2 teams, there's nothing to really play for. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my rant.
I know it's a bit of a random video, and I haven't uploaded in a while, but I felt like now more than ever the Halo community kind of needs someone to say something. If you're a fan of Halo in general, be sure to follow those guys that I put on screen. I'm going to put their links in the descriptions as well. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know, but Europa Halo actually just announced a LAN in Blackpool in the United Kingdom. It's going to run through 11th to the 12th of November, so if you can't attend, be sure to keep up to date with it on streams. And if you can attend, try to get a ticket. You never know. I think they're going to start restocking the tickets, as well as there's plenty of spectator tickets. And I hope to see loads of you guys there.